Finally, I'm making a new one. This is going to be a hodgepodge of ideas, my standard ramblers. And this one is about several things. First of all, it's about the reason for my disappointment in the world. Well, one of the several reasons for my disappointment. Oh yeah, I'm starting off on a very unfamiliar subject here. Just giving myself a little shit here. Anyway, the problem is that we as humans are basically acting as animals. We have the ability to think beyond our animal instincts, but in the end, our bottom line, our standard course of action tends to rest on what our instincts tell us to do. And this is just, it's depressing to me. Because, for one, because I'm losing the battle. You look at the natural world and who's on top? The alpha males. They're out, they get to sleep with whoever they want, they battle off the other males to maintain their supremacy, and, they're the kings of their herd or whatever. And, I'm not an alpha male. I'm not, in that upper echelon. Mostly because I don't make a lot of money. This society, to be one of the alpha males, you make money. That's the best way to get into the upper echelon. Now, being attractive helps and, other things. It's not like, you can't still compete if you're not making a lot of money, but you need to be at least on an upward trajectory for most women to give you the time of day. I'm a chauffeur right now in San Francisco, and give rides to a lot of upper end clientele because it's sort of a on demand luxury car service. I serve a lot of rich people, and obviously these women have no interest in me whatsoever, because at least most of them have close to no interest anyway. Maybe partially because I'm out of shape, but more likely because I'm a chauffeur. But anyway, so it's hard to go about your day every day, when you're a nobody in the grand, and not even in the grand scheme of things, when you're a nobody in the hierarchy of the human animal. But what's even worse is that even if I were to do something that will never happen, which is to ascend to the upper levels of the human hierarchy, the human-animal hierarchy, all I would be doing is further degrading the planet. That's the problem with the human animals. We're working on our instinctual desires, but we have the intellectual ability to take those goals to extremes to the point where we're endangering our own survival. And, it's just, it's not good at all. I guess that's just the cold hard truth of it, is that we're like animals, it's all about this battle for supremacy, and there's all this competition, and in the world of animals, it's nature is cruel in that way. You watch animals fighting each other, and they don't care if they kill other animals, they don't care. They'll do anything it takes to be top dog. And I wish, that I could sit back and be satisfied with being, beta male, getting what I can when I can get it. But genetically, that's not how we're programmed. We're programmed as men to think we want to be the alpha dog. We want to be on top. We want to be in control. That's just part of our biological programming. And, on the other side of it, you have religion, morality that says, oh, well, don't don't focus so much on that. But a lot of people have the theory that religion was made up by the alpha dogs to keep themselves in a position of alpha status, or them and their next of kin. So I'd like to believe in religion, but the more I think about religion, it's funny. It's like people are saying, you have no senses after you die. You have no ears. You have no brain. How can you go on? Anyway, that's sort of a tangent, but basically, I hate this attitude that people have that just sort of like, oh, well, if you have no one to blame but yourself, and shame on you, you're wasting your life away, complaining about things and not doing what it takes, changing your life in a way that will make you happy. Well, what would it take for me to make myself happy? Let's look at that. It would take succeeding in the capitalist world. And what is succeeding in the capitalist world? It means figuring out how to manipulate people. That's who becomes successful. The captains of industry are not out to provide a valuable service. They might think they are. They might say they are. But the truth of the matter is the captains of industry just know how to kind of focus on the extraction of effort and resources on their behalf. Just basically to be successful, you have to be part of the problem in the world today, not part of the solution. You have to create an industry that's going to, use up resources, force people to work for less, for work hours that they are not adequately compensated for. Make people feel that they need your product even when they don't. You have to sell people. You have to use mind control to get to people. You have to influence politics unfairly, destroying the true meaning of democracy. You have to cut corners wherever you can. Competition as in the natural world, it has its ugliness in the natural world, and it definitely, even more magnified, has its ugliness in the world of human relations. And, to be competitive, you just have to basically, for the most part, you have to screw the other guy before he screws you. That's what it means, really. I'm one of the guys who's getting screwed. I'm not doing the screwing. I'm getting screwed. And, for those people that are like me, I think that it's good that we exist, because if the world was just filled with people who were trying to screw each other, who were doing the screwing, then it would be a much more violent society, I think, and I think that things wouldn't function as well. But at the same time, it sucks to be that person. It's no fun. And to try to turn it around and say, oh, well, now I'm going to be the guy doing the screwing. Well, there's certain moral considerations that come in, Do you want to do that? And then there's another thing about it is work, and that kind of leads me to the second half of this. That was sort of unfocused in the first half, but I think you get a general idea. But the other thing is that this society rewards people for work. It does reward people for work. But it doesn't reward people for the right kind of work. And I think that's really the problem, is you have people who work and work and work, and they've worked a long time. And they think for that reason, just because they put in a lot of work, they deserve reward for it. Well, I'm not trying to say that work isn't a good thing. Yeah, work is important. We all need to do work. We all need to be productive if we're going to get anything done. But the people who are rewarded the most are the people who do work that is already sort of headed in the same direction as the momentum of the system, which is towards environmental destruction and oppression in general. And those are the people. I mean, if you work your whole life to support some kind of revolutionary movement versus working your whole life to start a private equity firm or something like that, guess who's going to be more successful in the end? Not the guy who wants to change the world for the better. The guy who is going in the same shitty direction as everything else is going. So, but that's the thing, is these people have worked hard and they think, oh, well, because I've worked hard, I deserve the world. I deserve everything. Well, I'm sorry, but I don't believe in a society that rewards work for work's sake. The work that is being done should be considered in its relationship to the well-being of mankind. And right now, that's not how it goes. How it goes is you work hard, you make money, and you get respected. But, and that's what ends up happening, is you have people who go crazy, basically. The people who run society have gone crazy because they've worked so hard, and they have worked hard. I'm not doubting that they haven't worked hard. Most of them have worked very hard. But they've worked so hard, they think that anything they do is infallible. That, whatever they're doing is right because they've worked for it and they've earned it, and that's final. Well, that's wrong. What you're doing may not, and I don't care if you worked your whole life, if you came from nothing and you end up owning an oil company. You're doing bad work. You could, it's just the same kind of idea like jobs. Jobs are good. Economic growth is good. People don't think about, what kind of jobs, what kind of growth, what does the growth lead to? No, it's just, oh yes, very straight, oh yes, jobs are important. We need to think about jobs. The reason why people think about these things is because they can't think beyond themselves. Their selfish view of themselves and what's going on in their world. Oh, I need a job. Oh, I was laid off. Oh, I don't have enough money. Well, I understand that because, you got to pay the bills and you got to live. But we keep thinking that way, and no one will be watching out for the future. No one will see that we'll move in a generally good direction. And, I know a lot of people think the free market can solve problems. Well, it's not solving the problems. In fact, the problems are getting out of hand at this point. I still wonder whether or not, I don't think we've seen the real crash from all this activity yet. I think it's still coming. But basically, work should not be rewarded just for getting done. There needs to be some accounting of where we're headed as a species and what the work we do is really leading to. And for people to think, and it just all ties back into this animal mentality. It's not about it's about might makes right, and that is an animalistic way of thinking. And we continue in that vein, we will meet our demise very soon because animals come and go. We have the ability to stand for more than that, but it doesn't look as if that's going to happen, and it's depressing to me, and it makes me want to give up on life.